Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Somewhat Damaged. This week, joining John and I is Jeff Richards, master impressionist and one of only two people to ever be on Mad TV and Saturday Night Live at the same time. Check it out. This is a fun one.
Oh shit! So, Jeff, what's up, man? How is where are you at now? Right now, you're on the West Coast.
Yeah, I'm in Hollywood. Yeah,
Dude, thanks for waking up and hanging out with us for
no
this
problem.
brief 45 minutes.
That's been pretty cool, trippy art behind you.
Oh yeah, you like it? It's from the.
What is it?
I forgot. It's like some shit. It's like it's a Dr. Seuss cell.
I was going to say it looks like a cell.
But I don't know which. I
was going to
always
go with
forget.
the Seven Dwarfs.
It's like the U. I don't even know. It's Yoo-hoo or the U's or Yoo-hoos or whatever.
I got to tell you, I was doing like a deep dive on videos, and the first one that came up, it might be the most recent one, is you as Willy Wonka doing the interview on your podcast and show as Willy Wonka. And I right, that's Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
And like that is one of the things that has I don't want to not traumatized me since childhood, but there have been different stages throughout my life where Willy Wonka has meant different things to me, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's morphed into this thing to where I spent a lot of time on tour with the Grateful Dead and went through this Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory phase that involved an awful lot of hallucinogens. So I saw that and I was like instantly back on tour, and I put the hat on.
Which one did you see? The one with Mickey Avalon?
Yes, with Mickey. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're doing one Tuesday. I'm recording with Aries Spears. He's gonna be Shaq, and I'm gonna be Willy Wonka.
Oh, that's awesome. So after seeing that, I'm like, these videos are so good. I'm like now obsessed with trying to figure out how to do that for myself.
What, the deepfake stuff?
The deepfake stuff.
Yeah, it's I don't know how to do it. My friend Scott Welsh on the other coast does it for me. He's really good at it. I guess it's you can learn how to do it, but it's like to fine tune it. There's like a lot of tricks.
Yeah, it seems it. Like I spent some time on one of the websites quickly, like trying to figure it out, and it seems they're like, oh, this is simple in 4 easy steps, and I'm like, yeah, 4 easy steps if you're a fucking genius, like video.
Yeah. And there's little things too, like just getting the mouth to match up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know the specifics, but we've just now got the mouth to match up. Well, we had a few that were different. You couldn't tell.
Yeah.
Because first I didn't have as good of a camera. So you can only get so far with the deep fake, with the camera being,
Sure.
It was the 360.
Right.
So then I went to 720 and basically, we just kept chipping away and got better at the deep fakes. I mean, he did, Scott did. And also it depends on how much high res photos there are of the person, because it's all about the accumulation of all the photos. So like, like doing Jimmy Fallon, oddly enough, there aren't a lot of high res photos out there to just grab. So it doesn't look as good as the other ones, but
yeah, because they're amazing. I mean, we're talking with Jeff Richards about his show, the Jeff Richards Show, where he does these awesome interviews where you just got to go see it. I don't even want Jeff can explain it, but it's pretty incredible stuff. Like you could. I mean, I spent hours just watching these videos, and I'm like, you can't tell. Like you just can't really tell. Like you may be able to tell by I forgot which one I saw where maybe it was Dustin Hoffman, where he's obviously a much. He's smaller, so you can kind of tell by the body that it's not really Dustin Hoffman, but face-wise, when you were doing you and him and Tom Cruise, like it's so awesome.
There was a thing with Bob Fosse, and I didn't want to talk about it. He said, and there was coffee, and there was desserts, and I didn't want dessert, so I waited for just the coffee, and I just drank the coffee.
Is that like instinctive for you to just go into impressions when you're like out with your friends ordering food? Does it just come out without you even thinking about doing it, or are you just all of a sudden like, I'm going to be Dustin Hoffman to this waiter?
I think when I was a little younger, I would do it more often, just like running around doing it.
Right.
But that the show came about because, my friends would be like, we'd be at the Improv or somewhere, and they'd just start talking to me as the I would be the impression. They'd just start talking, interviewing me. That's what the show originally was me being interviewed by a guest.
Right.
And at the end it switched. So I've been practicing like a long time, just coming up with things to say, in that person's voice, and certain ones I am better at than others. But yeah, that's. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite character or a favorite impression that you do, that you're like, this is like when they write my obituary, this is like,
well, I have ones that drive me more than others, like Jimmy Fallon. Doing Jimmy Fallon is a fun one to do. It's the coolest thing in the world. I can't believe it. You know what I mean? I found a paperclip yesterday. You know what a paperclip is, right? I found a paperclip, like, oh my God, no way. You know what I mean? It's the coolest thing in the world. Oh my God, you can give me a break. You know what I mean? But then then I do Jesse Pinkman, which I think which is a little harder because, he's more reactionary, and it's like, right, bitch. Like, I don't even think what you said makes any sense. Okay, right, bitch. And he's in an agitated state. So doing like a 30-minute interview of just being agitated and can throw a guest off almost. But I just did, the last one we did was with Lauren Francesca, and she was great. I was trying to figure out how to just be, just a relaxed Jesse Pinkman, but then jump into, I was finding reasons to jump into being agitated. You know what I mean? Like, it just depends on the impression. Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead, John.
No, it was coughing.
Jeff, what's your most requested one on Cameo?
Well, I don't even do those cameos anymore. I just I set my price at $1,000 because I wanted to avoid doing them. So I just, I don't. They're a tough one because they're really critical and mean, and they'll be like, that didn't sound like the guy, and it's like, it didn't sound like him at all, like, really, like, and they make you do it again. And so I just said it's $1,000, and I haven't gotten one offer, and it's been great.
Someone really has to like Drunk Girl for $1,000 and not be able to go find one at a bar on a Friday night.
Right.
Have you ever encountered, obviously, working at Mad TV and Saturday Night Live, you had the opportunity to do these characters and impressions. Were you ever asked to kind of like do on the spot? We've talked to Craig Gass before about like how he had to do his Sandler in front of him. Were you ever kind of pulled in and be like, hey, Jeff, do it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, many times. But I've always liked to do that. I mean, that since I was in like elementary, not elementary maybe as much, but like junior high school, that's how I made friends. They'd be like, he does Mr. Sang, teacher Mr. Sang, do it for him. And then I'd do it for a few people, and then I'd become friends with those people. And then, so I was always put on the spot early on with it. And I like doing it. I like that challenge of that.
How long does it take you to perfect someone that's like really recognizable?
Well, that's a good question, because I'm trying to do that right now with Alec Baldwin, who was nice enough to be on the show himself.
Right.
I want to do him as a host, for 30 minutes.
So you want to interview Alec as Alec?
Yeah. No, I already did Alec. Alec was on, I did Robert Downey Jr. with him.
Right.
No, I want to do Alec, just like I did Willy Wonka, hosting the show.
Sure.
And it's weird too, because I'm not doing a lot of stand-up, so I'm not even sure. I really don't know if it really sounds like him all the way.
Well, what about doing, and not to try, but what about doing a character of Alec Baldwin from like Glengarry Glen Ross or?
No,
like,
I don't. It's kind of hard to sustain that though, and I
Right.
kind of like to do like the true like I think that's good for like a Willy Wonka or Hannibal Lecter or something, but I'd rather do, like my take on Alec Baldwin was Alec Baldwin's podcast. Here's the thing.
Right.
So I listened to a lot of that. Here's the thing podcast, and really great, because they were great actors, for so long, I still have to work on that a little bit. But that's a take is him being really down to earth, real, and just in real life.
It's funny. I tell you a funny story about someone doing impressions behind me. I was in an airport lounge in New York City one day, and I was just sitting on my computer playing around, and I hear this voice behind me, and I'm like, I recognize that voice. Who is it? And I didn't want to turn around until I figured it out. So I got up, walked to go to the bathroom, and it was Christopher Walken, right? Like actually wow. Christopher Walken. So months go by, I'm sitting in the same airport lounge, right? And I hear this voice again. I'm like, wow, what are the chances that Christopher Walken is sitting behind me again? And I turn around and it was just some guy doing a Christopher Walken voice.
Oh, wow. That's great.
It was friends.
I love those things.
I'm like, that's pretty friggin' like unbelievable. And he wasn't a comedian. I asked him, like, do you do impressions? Like, and he's like, no, I just happen to do Christopher Walken really well.
That's cool.
And I'm like, do people come up to you like it shows when you were, more active out and we were in the pandemic doing stand up and try to run their impressions by you to like
sometimes
and are they any good?
Sometimes.
Huh.
Does it piss you off? That's the question.
No. I always like to see one I don't see often, because a lot of times people do the same ones over and over again, and that's kind of why I don't do certain ones. Like I don't do Christopher Walken, not to be elitist or anything, but
sure.
I'm just sort of like, I like to kind of find my take on it. And if I feel like all the takes are taken, it's not really as fun,
Sure. There's you alluded to it a little bit that you're not doing as much stand-up.
I'm getting back. Yeah.
Was it just the pandemic that kind of like said, hey, let me just kind of relax a little bit?
Yeah, the pandemic, right? Being a little bit weary about traveling and, and plus just going full force on the podcast because it's been a year. It's a year today, I think. What is it, October 7th?
Yeah.
Today. It's been a year. So we've been doing it for a year. Yeah. I just want to do this. I kind of want to rely more on the online game, the podcasts, some of the music stuff I like to do, the funny music. It's not that funny, but it's called Ditto Kiddo. It's like 80s, it's like the Pet Shop Boys kind of.
Right.
Oh shit.
And just having fun, but definitely doing stand-up gigs, but mostly trying to like just have the whole ball of wax be mostly the online
stuff. So speaking of music, I read a quote, and I'm sure you know what I'm going to say, where you, at least if it's accurate, it says you think that Morrissey and the Smiths are more important in music than the Beatles.
I probably said that, yeah. To me,
So I'm not going to disagree with you. I just was curious as to like, are you that like, is that your thing, or like Morrissey and the Smiths, like your band?
Yeah, my favorite band. Yeah.
So how did you get, like, where'd you grow up?
Bay Area, East Bay.
And was that a big band when you were growing up? That like that was that's the band you latched onto?
I liked everything, but it just kind of grew and grew more and more. I liked the Smiths.
Right.
And Pet Shop Boys.
Sure.
And The Cure and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I liked.
So like that like English stuff, like of
80s emo music, as I like to call
it. Yeah. Because I always like to do like Morrissey as an impression too. Like, it's very strange, it's very good, it's very weird, So, people don't understand that they don't really understand why or what they're doing, It's very strange, very weird. And then like Pet Shop Boys, I was always singing this one lyric. I see The reason I like to do the music stuff is I would listen to regular music and just come up with my own lyrics.
Right.
So I was doing like Pet Shop Boys, my own lyric. I'd sing it all the time. I'd go, I'm running on a high. I'm running on a high. Running on a high. You know, that's all fun.
Are you going to go see the Pet Shop Boys? Because they're out, I think, on tour now, or with
No. I'm going to see Mickey Avalon though.
Are you?
My birthday, October 21st. You guys want to get me something?
Listeners, if you hear that, definitely go send a Venmo. Just send straight cash.
Sure, actually, straight cash.
You know what's funny is that you say that line and that quote, which is pretty solid, but like to me as like a former emo kid, that's not that far off. Like I had so many friends in the scene that were just like always like was like, yeah, no music was good music until Morrissey and the Smiths, and I was always like blown away by that, but I kind of understand the rationale behind it moving forward. I mean, it's just one of those songs, and if you really think that music's you're supposed to feel something, I mean, just look at any of their albums. Like, I don't know. I think there was one time that I actually listened to a Morrissey song in the car, and I just started crying. To be honest.
Well, you were going through something at the time though too, right?
I was. It wasn't just like randomly like, I got my coffee and I'm just fucking bawling.
Something triggered it. No, they really trigger moods, and I never get tired of their music. And I love the lyrics are so like funny and like, you know, I can't think of any other big words. That's not a big word, but I was gonna say esoteric. I don't even know what that word means. But they're it's just great. I just love those guys.
Did it, like, I remember back at some point in maybe the late 90s, How Soon Is Now started going around as like a club hit, like in like clubs and stuff. Did that like bother you as a Smiths Morrissey fan? Because
I think it's cool when you know, and I love when Morrissey does covers too. You know,
like, when Morrissey covers the Smiths.
When you're right, exactly right.
What about like Depeche Mode?
Yeah.
Because I put
saw
those
them once
together in that, like when John mentioned that about, you know, people like really and like yourself looking up to those guys. I mean, I know so many people that I went to high school with that were, you know, big fans of all of that, you know, especially the Smiths. But, you know, look at like Dave Gahan is like God.
Yeah.
You know, and people definitely look at Morrissey like that too, right? So I don't know where that next line actually is. Maybe it's like Kurt Cobain with, you know, the people.
The Cure. I'd say The Cure.
Yeah, Robert Smith, right?
I mean, so prolific.
Sure.
I mean, it's just song after song after song.
Should Robert Smith take the makeup off now and just go at it clean?
I think that would scare the shit out of everyone.
I mean, wait a second. Did anybody see Marilyn Manson's new picture out there?
I don't think
I saw that.
Is that real?
It's not real.
Yeah, it's not real.
Oh, no. Okay.
Probably isn't real. No.
Did I just got fucking deep faked them?
Yes, you did. I saw the picture, like the real picture from that thing. They put it, you know, next to it, and it's look unless that's fake, but I think that's totally fake, that photo.
Yeah, it's probably a deep fake.
But it's awesome. It's awesome. Like, just to think that that's Marilyn Manson. I'm like, that's pretty goddamn awesome.
Oh man, that guy from freaking I lost the joke, so I'm gonna stop.
I think you're in better shape than that with certain drugs, right? So I don't think he would balloon off of whatever he does. You know what I mean? Not that he does. I don't know what he does, but
I think he's a pretty avid absinthe drinker, from what I hear.
Is that right?
Yeah. Like,
why would you drink that?
I don't know. I read something, and I think he might even have his own like real absinthe, and like the stuff you can't even get
with the wormwood and everything in it.
Yeah, like the
he sells underground absinthe.
Yeah, he must. You got to get it in like a tunnel somewhere in Hollywood.
Well, absinthe is like, I mean, obviously there's variations, but I think the big thing, because there was a period where, I mean, I wasn't drinking it every time, but I would order it if I saw it on a menu, because it's the production. It's like tableside guacamole. You know what I mean? Right. They're burning the ice cube, you know what I mean, and caramelizing it, and it's a small drip into a water. Like, it looks like science. It's super cool. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
you know, it's funny is that I saw that Van Gogh immersion experience last night, and they talked about his absinthe use, and apparently like that's what caused him to fucking go crazy and cut off his ear and
Well,
shit.
it's supposed to make you hallucinate, like real absinthe, like LSD hallucinations.
I don't think that. I mean, like, I like the production value behind it. That was really what it came down to. I mean, I'd pay $125 for some back room for some freaking, kid to put a Bunsen burner on the table, and charge whatever you want for it at that point. But back Jeff. I have a question. Like, and it's something that you kind of said. Kind of just rolling into it is the idea that you've had great success in your career, and you're kind of at the point now where you know what you want to do. And like by saying no to stand up, I mean, and not doing as much and focusing on that, is that something that charging $1,000 on Cameo, is that something that where you kind of like have the availability to say to yourself no?
No, listen, what I did with Cameo was instead of just deleting my account, I put $1,000 as a joke.
Right.
So it's not like I'm asked for 1,000. People say, how dare you? I charge 1,000 more than whoever, like Michael Jackson or whoever, right. Like, but it's like, that's just my way of, instead of, deactivating it, instead of charging $50 and stuff, but I
thought it was more of a way that you're boxing out things that, like, I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, I'm boxing them out. I mean, I really am super focused on this podcast, and I'm starting a Patreon on November 1st.
Nice.
And, basically, I want to do stand up, but there's not as much out there. I mean, with what happened and with what's going on, there's not as much. And it's, I instead of chasing that, I do some online stuff, like the online stand up, like the like some of these corporate things sometimes.
Sure.
But really what I do, it's stand up. What I do stand up, but it's really just like little chunks of impressions.
Right.
They're not jokes. It's more of a presentation.
You're listening to another episode of the Somewhat Damaged Podcast, part of the Storic Media Podcast Network, and brought to you by Corona Premier, now available on draft.
So can you walk us back to when you were on cast with any of the sketch shows? What was that process like? Did they find you from stand up, or were they watching, or did they follow your sketch group and they kind of like were like, oh yeah, we want him to audition?
No, I did Mad TV first, and I got recommended by the Improv and Joel Zadak, and I was just doing impressions at the time. I'm doing stand up, and someone's like, you should audition for Mad TV. And I did the stand-up set, and I went through a long audition process that took a few months. And I finally got that. And then it was like one of those things where you try so hard to win over a girl. By the time you do, it doesn't even work out. So it's like, that worked out good in that sense, because then the next year I got to go on SNL. But that came from having good management and just being able to be walked into an audition there. So much of it is your management.
Right. But that must have been, I mean, there's only been, right, you and one other guy that's gone from a sketch show Mad TV that crossed over to Saturday Night Live, right? So I imagine like when you like walk into that interview, there must be some like level of weirdness somewhere, either with you or with them who's auditioning you. Like,
no, they didn't know. Like apparently, like Lauren wasn't told that I was on, that had been on Mad TV.
Really?
Marcy Klein kept that quiet until after I auditioned.
Right. So that, I mean, that's obviously I would imagine a real big compliment, because she thought, she didn't want him to be turned off to talent. To be auditioned for the show, and ultimately it worked out. So right, because you'd think that if she would have been like, oh yeah, this guy's on Mad TV, he'd be like, well, I don't want to see him.
It probably wouldn't have. Yeah, it probably wouldn't have seen me. I would think. Yeah.
What did you do for that audition?
I think he did like 9 impressions in 5 minutes.
Wow.
Just one after the other. I had Drunk Girl in my pocket if they asked for more stuff. I was thinking they're gonna ask for more stuff. And I didn't do it, and just fired through all those impressions. And then when I got off stage, I started walking out, and Lauren stopped me and shook my hand and said, "Good job."
Oh, that's
wow.
So I thought, well, that's, even if it's just that
awesome.
for the rest of my life, like, that's good. That's pretty good. You know, I just didn't want to like choke in the audition. I didn't want to like get too nervous or like get too ahead of myself.
Right. How long did it take you to find out you were hired until from that time until the time you auditioned?
Well, then like that was like, it was on a Friday, and then I flew to San Diego to do the Comedy Store in La Jolla, and it was the next day. They said, I was in a car full of people. They just picked me up at the airport, and they said, my managers called me and they said, well, don't, they said, he goes, are you sitting? Are you there? And I go, yeah. And they go, you got it. And I go, I got it. And then all the people in the car started cheering for me. And then they go, but you can't tell anybody. And I was like, well, these guys know. And but it wasn't really 100% because I still met Lauren. You know, I still had to go back to New York and meet Lauren.
Right.
And I didn't know if I got it when I was meeting with him. You know, and I'm trying to find out as he's talking to me. He's like, you know, so where are you from? What do your parents do? He's asking me these questions.
Right.
I love how everybody has the Lauren impression, by the way.
So, you play sports? And I'm just like, do I get it or not get it? You know, so you like lacrosse? And then he was like, and so I thought I'd ask a question just to see if I could figure out if I got it. So I was like, am I going to get a computer? I said, and he goes, yes, you'll get a computer. And I went, okay, that probably means I got it.
And then when did you find out that you got it?
And then I walked out of the office and said to Marcy Clench, she goes, how'd it go? And I go, I don't know how it went. I go, I couldn't tell. And then he goes, she went back in there and came back out and then told me I got it. And then I'm like, and then for some reason, I thought I'd just tell her that Dana Carvey was my uncle. I was just like so nervous and like out of my mind. I'm like, Dana Carvey's my uncle, you know? And she's like, really? And I'm like, no. And I'm just like, and then they gave me a bottle of champagne, and I guess got drunk in my hotel room, and that was how that went.
You know, I got to ask this. You know, a couple of weeks ago, Dean Edwards, who is a friend of the club, and he reposted something of you guys on around September 11th, and that first show back. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
How it was doing that?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about, and I don't want to get too much to this because I'm sure you get a lot of questions, but what was the writer's room September 12th or 13th when you guys went back in?
I mean, I just remember being told, like, you know, we need to be like silly and not, you know, political. We need to be like, you know, old school comedy, the stuff like Laurel and Hardy, kind of like slapstick maybe, or, you know, and, you know, in so many words, kind of play it safe for a second, you know. And, you know, I was lucky that I did impressions because I would just read the impressions at the update, you know, like a table read, I'd do an update read as, you know, whoever. And then even if I didn't get on update, at least they could see I did that impression. So I was doing the impressions, and then I got to do Drunk Girl like a few shows in. And yeah, but I just remember it being very just tense, because then there was the anthrax thing in the building that really scared everybody.
Right.
And I just thought it was just crazy. I thought it was just insane. Because the day 9/11 was the day we were supposed to read the commercial parodies sketches.
Right.
So the whole cast was gonna meet each other. I mean, they didn't know each other. Everyone's gonna meet up. And that was the day that was 9/11.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where were you living at the time?
I was Upper West Side. I got like a 1-bedroom rental thing.
It's always interesting to hear the stories, kind of behind the scenes. I talked to Dean a couple of times about, the experiences. Not only that, every other comic that was kind of in New York City at that time, and how everyone shifted a little bit. And did you think that was there any idea that was almost that was cut because it was maybe too soon? That
I remember doing something. I did a Burt Bacharach update piece,
right?
And it was about like people on the tarmac, and it was like joking around, but it was kind of like, wasn't about death so much, but it was like an Iraq tarmac kind of thing. And that we did it on the air and stuff, but they never reran that for reasons, because a little later something happened, or like with I don't know if like the update of like the what's his name, the crocodile guy. Steve Irwin.
Steve Irwin,
right?
Yeah. But he died after I did him too. I don't know if that aired.
Oh,
there's just certain things that don't go back, when they air it again.
Right.
But yeah, there were lots of things that were too whatever. But I think it's good. It's good to for those update, or for the table reads, to go too far, just to know what that feels like and how it affects people that are listening to it. And as opposed to keep doing just safe in the line, in this umbrella, because it's like, it's comedy. I mean,
Sure.
people forget that we're just doing comedy,
right?
But it's taken so literal.
Were there like any impressions or bits that you really felt like really strongly about, that you were dying to do, that they just said, no, we're not going to, we don't want you to do that person?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are. I can't really think of any, but no, I really can't. Not really. I mean, I went through, I think I did 20 something impressions. Some of them they asked me to do or try to learn.
Sure.
And Bill O'Reilly was one of those.
Right.
That was a real fun one, written by Jim Downey. That was a cool one to do. And caution, you're about to enter no spin zone. In fact, it begins in 30 seconds. But yeah, I was pretty lucky to get to do a few things, so it was good.
Right. Did you ever have to do one that you didn't want to do, that they were like, you're going to do this one? Or one you didn't think you did well enough to do on TV?
I had to do like an Iraqi accent. Is that?
Wow.
And I was like, this like I'm doing like a guy from like upstate New York. I couldn't get it. Like I'm just like, I couldn't do it. And but I did it enough, but I didn't feel like I did it.
Right. Got it.
Well. I'm gonna close out on the SNL stuff and the sketch stuff. I gotta ask, as a former cast member, are you still watching the show?
I do see it. Yeah, I don't always make a point to watch it, but I see clips, and yeah.
The special ones, and the only reason I bring it up is because the premiere was last Saturday, and one of the breakouts was James Austin Johnson, who was in almost every single sketch. I don't know if you had a chance to see him yet, did you? He's the new Biden. That
great,
guy, unbelievable. Like,
yeah, he's awesome.
Crazy how good he was doing in there, and it was pretty exciting to see somebody that's going to be that this is an auxiliary player like that, and somebody that, like, I kind of, Jeff, when I watch your stuff, I always felt was like the auxiliary that could do anything. Do you know what I mean? You could do somebody that's topical, you could do a character, and I noticed that there's not a lot of those anymore kind of in the cast that can really, be an all-in-one tool for a sketch show like that. Is there anybody else that kind of pops your mind that you're like on the cast specifically that you're like, I really like what they're doing?
Yeah, I mean, he's not there now, but Jay Farrow was like, I mean, that guy's amazing. Who else? The women are so strong. I don't know. I don't know I don't know if it's like, see, it's like sometimes you don't see the full dimension of someone on that show because they got to get through the table read. They got to get through the dress show. You have to, it's like it has to get, first off, it has to get to the, so it's like it has to go through so many, what do you call it, steps to get there. So I don't know if it's like they can't do it or you don't see that they can do it.
Right. So I just, the last thing I want to ask you about SNL is the drunk girl character, right? Like that was such a strong character for a while. Like, how did you have to like pitch that, or did the first time you went in and been like, I have this character, drunk girl, you do it? They're like, that's it. Like, was it something you had to sell, or was it known from?
Yeah, I did kind of sell it. What happened was, I said, I do this drunk girl character. I want to, play a drunk girl, and I want to do, maybe an update or something. And I remember one of the producers was like, well, why don't you go out there as yourself and talk about this drunk girl? And I thought, I just want to be the girl, let me, be the girl. And so I convinced like Tina Fey that, I'd like to do this as a, drunk girl. And she's like, okay, well, let's put you in makeup for one of the sketches where you're just standing in the stands. It was a David Wells sketch,
right? And
they just want to see what I look like in makeup. They didn't want to, like, I think that their thing is they didn't want it to do it if I just looked like a guy in drag,
right?
But I do have a pretty face, and
I mean,
clearly,
I mean,
got good angles to it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. Okay. So basically that happened, and then they just said, yeah, go ahead and do it. And then I did it, and it was that was good.
And it ran for how many different times did you do that sketch?
Did about 10 of them.
Yeah, it's so good.
Thank you.
Every one means something. Like, it takes me immediately back to frat parties and college bars.
You know how much fun Greg's having because he was sitting down watching NBC at 11:30. He had a real good frat party, buddy.
Whatever. Anyway, so John, you want to bring this on home with our usual?
I would love to, Jeff. Obviously, we've talked a bunch, but I mean, there's one thing that we always love ending the podcast with, and that's a question of what was the best thing that you ate this week?
This week. This week. Well, it's early in the week.
It's Thursday.
It is Thursday. You're right. When you go, what is it, Monday? And they go, no, it's Thursday. It's like, oh, okay, I'm a little off. I'm 4 days off. I can't. I've been trying to eat good, so nothing really, honestly. Like I had some egg whites and avocado.
Is there, like, you're not touring as much anymore? Is there a place that you miss on the road for good food? Can't say New York. No, not even allowed.
Well, I did used to like the Madhouse in San Diego. They had a full restaurant. I think they still do it, but they don't go like with headliners anymore. They don't have like, bigger headliners or whatever during the weekends. There. It's more of a showcase, but they have awesome food. And then Comedy on the Carlson is really good too, actually, in
Rochester.
Yeah.
So I think that's a road trip for us.
Oh, and another one is they have great food in Arkansas. Is it Arkansas?
When you say good food, I don't think Arkansas, first of all.
Is it Arkansas or Alabama? One of the two. They have like barbecue. They have full menu.
Arkansas has killer barbecue. Arkansas has some of the best barbecue around, like you could find.
Yeah,
like
it's
roadside barbecue, like a place that's a
oh,
guy.
it's called the Grove. The Grove.
Where in Arkansas? Do you know?
I think it's Lowell or something.
I don't know that one.
Jeff's actually just talking about the Grove in LA. He's like, I love that place.
I love the Grove. They have Seas Candy and all kinds of stuff.
Nordstrom's.
The Cheesecake Factory has outdoor
Cheesecake
seating.
Factory.
Exactly.
Great place. Hey, well, this was awesome, Jeff. Really
dude,
appreciate it.
we've been trying to get you on for a long time. I'm so glad we finally got you.
Thank you.
On here. So listen, Patreon comes out November 1st, correct?
Yep.
And a happy 1-year anniversary on the podcast, man.
Yeah. And you can go to thejeffrichardshow.com and listen to it, watch it on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, you really got to watch it. You got to watch it because it's a different experience than just listening to it. You got.
Hey, and a happy early birthday to you as well.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Birthday. Thank you very much.
All right, Jeff. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Have a good rest
of the
day.
We'll see you, man.
Brother.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.